Hello fellow dance geeks and performance loving friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a how-to, but it's not really to do with live entertainment as I normally focus on. 2020 has stirred things up quite a bit. Is an understatement. And it's meant that in the live performance world, we've had to move to pre-recorded or live streaming, or basically taking our three-dimensional experience and putting it into this two-dimensional world of screens like you're watching now. So I thought I'd share some of my tips and tricks for making those performances a little more extra, a little more exciting. And basically this is focusing on editing videos. And this is a skill that I never went to school for. I didn't do any official training for. I just kind of taught myself, learnt as I went whilst creating my YouTube channel. Dance studios, specifically who I'm talking to here, worldwide have lost a lot of money this year, and paying somebody to do these sorts of editing things is not actually an option for a lot of studios. But I'd always recommend, if you can get a professional to do this, if you can pay someone to do this, then do it. Do that. You're always going to get a better job done when you pay someone who knows what they're doing. But if you're in a position where you can't pay someone to do the editing for you, like I am with my YouTube channel, I can't pay people to do the editing for me. One day maybe, but at the moment I can't. So I just learned to do it myself. I am also very extra when it comes to live performances. My dances at the concerts, my routines are always the ones with more props. I always want more detailed lighting changes and states and things, and I'm very theatrical. So when I moved to the online world of YouTube, I kind of wanted to bring that same aesthetic with me. And green screen technology is one of the things that helped me do that. When I'm talking about green screen, I'm not going as far as to say you need to film things on a green screen, because you don't really need to do that. What I'm going to show you today is how you can use overlays in the editing process using the green screen technology on those, not on your original footage. And it can really add a lot of pizzazz, a lot of theatricality to your videos. Now, I'm specifically making this video for my colleagues at that dance place here in Victoria, where I live in Australia, but I thought, why not put this up on my channel and show everyone how to do this? The reason that dance place teachers might find this useful is because this year we're doing our concert as a pre-filmed video. I deliberately chose today some pretty dodgy footage and a fairly basic and not particularly great quality green screen overlay, just so that I can show you how you can really elevate some basic technology. You don't have to have your original footage be brilliant. You can make that original footage go from, say, you know, a bronze medal to a gold. If you like this video, if you find it useful, please give me a thumbs up and please hit the subscribe button, because that really helps me out. When you're on YouTube, you need to see the thumbs up and the subscribe button, as that's your payment. That's you paying that creator for the content they've given you. And that's all it is. You don't have to actually fork over the cash. Just pay them with going thumbs up and subscribe. And I talk about that at a fairly important section in this, because a lot of the extra footage we're going to use and extra tools are provided by people on YouTube for free. So your payment to that fellow creator is a thumbs up and hit the subscribe. And that's our currency here on YouTube. When we get to a certain level of engagement with viewers on YouTube, that's where we can get big companies will pay us to put ads on our videos. That's how we get our money, through ads. We don't get our money through you guys paying to watch our stuff. So you can help us out by clicking the thumbs up and clicking the subscribe and actually watching the video all the way through. That's how we support each other as artists and creators here on YouTube. So that's how you can support us as well. All right, so let's get into the video. Let's learn some really cool tips and tricks to make those videos elevate to another level. First up, I'm going to show you how to take a piece of footage that was actually filmed within a Zoom class, and I've added a green screen overlay with this effect of the magic cyclone kind of thing in front. This is super basic, really easy to achieve, but gives a really effective final product. So we're starting in YouTube. You're going to search for green screen effects. You can see here a whole bunch of different suggestions come up. I specifically looked for magic. Now, one of my favorite things about YouTube is that people have already put together a lot of playlists, and you can see here I've found magical green screen as playlist, and there's 42 videos already collected together that are possibly going to be good for me. Have a look through. Find the effect that you think is going to be the one that works for you. I've chosen this Magic Particles number 2, blah, 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 whatever that video is called. You then need to convert this from a YouTube file into an MP4 video that you can save to your computer and then use in your video. But before you use the video, you need to check the conditions of use that this creator has set. So go into the description and just check. Read the description through. Most of them say free to use, just leave a like. This is your way of paying and thanking the creator for creating this green screen effect for you and for you using it. Now we're going to convert the chosen video, and there are lots of options to do this. I use a free video converter like this one here. This is the same converter I use if I want to convert a YouTube video into an audio file to use for a dance or for class. The legalities surrounding this, though, is something you'd need to look into for your particular situation, country, where you are, and all of that. Please make sure you are actually following correct usage and rules. But basically what you're doing is you copy the address of the YouTube video, then go into your converter, paste it in, make sure you've selected MP4 or another compatible video format that's going to be compatible with your editing software. MP4 tends to be pretty universal. And then just download it and save it to your computer. You then import that video from your computer into your editing software. Now, I use Filmora, which is made by Wondershare, but it's a very similar format to the Adobe products, and I think to Windows Movie Maker, but don't quote me on that one because I'm not very familiar with that particular product. Drag the video onto your timeline, and you want to make sure that it's above or on top of your original footage. So I've got the footage of me dancing, and then I've got my green screen sitting on top of it. Think of it as a stack, and you want the overlay to literally be sitting on top of the stack. Most of the time, the video that you've just imported from YouTube is going to have a lot of extra stuff in it that you don't need. So you need to get rid of that. One of the things that you'll probably not need is whatever audio has come in with that video. So I'm just selecting to mute that track, as I've done here. And then I'm going to go in and cut out any of the footage I don't need. So I only want this particular gold swirl. This has a couple of other versions on here as well. Like we're going to here Modelo 2, so it's got like a second option, which I think is silver. I don't want that. I just want the gold one. So I'm going in and split and trim, use those sorts of tools that your editing has to cut that track down so that it's only the effect that you want. Then you need to activate the green screen feature in your editing software. Mine, I activate by right-clicking on my green screen footage and then selecting green screen. Now, in my program, in Filmora, it will automatically adjust it for you so that you can see there now it's removed any green particle, and I can now see my original footage underneath. Move the piece around so that you can actually get it in the right position that you want. And remember, you can also change the size of this footage by dragging those little circles on the box in and out, or going into your cropping and editing tools. So we'll look at that in more detail. So here you can see the tolerance has been set to 50. That automatically happened on here. And what that's done is it's made all of this part around the edge of this particular effect has got a bit of a filtery blur on it. I don't know the technical term for it, but something like that. You can see the difference when I go when I take my cursor off that effect and just go into, boom. Did you see the background? So don't look at the effect, look at the part around it. It looks like it's got a bit of a blur, a bit of a filter over it, and then it doesn't. What you can do to change that is a couple of things. If you're worried about that, if it just doesn't look smooth enough, you can change the tolerance and take it up higher. The higher you go, the less of that change it has. So if we take it to, say, 85, 80, you can just manually type it. If you take that tolerance to 80, then your difference is now that, which is hardly anything. Most people wouldn't see it. The other thing you can do is minimize the amount of space on that particular footage. So we're going to go in and crop and zoom further into this piece. So see all of this part here, this is all in that particular piece of footage. I'm going to get rid of it. So I'm going to change my ratio to custom, and I'll talk a little bit more about ratios later. And I'm going to minimize this particular square so that it has pretty much just the effect in it, not all this excess space. Okay, so now when we do this, you'll see that if we take this back to 50, if you see here, you can see that tolerance is there a little bit. Boom, this is a bit blurrier. This one not so much. So it just depends on whether or not it's very visible in your particular piece. For me, this is too visible, so I'm going to take it to 100 on my tolerance. But it does, basically that's going to sharpen this particular effect. This is going to make it a little more pixelated on the edges. This is because this isn't the best quality video when it was loaded to YouTube. So that's the original source video. It wasn't the greatest quality, so it needs this kind of playing around with. But if you're not too concerned about it, then just boom, go with it like this. Some of the other things that you can change in here are selecting the color. It might be looking for the wrong green, or sometimes you'll download a piece that has a blue screen background rather than green screen. So you can just click on this little clicker and it tells you, it shows you the original image, and you can go in and tell it exactly what color green you want it to look for. So if I'm going to go slightly darker one. So it's looking now more for the edge, the green that's right at the edge here. And you can see now the tolerance at 50 or 51 rather, it's nowhere near as obvious. So that's another way you can change that. What I'd recommend is just play around with this sort of stuff. Always remember there's an undo button. So just undo it. I'm going to look at cropping your video. This is your original footage and how you can crop it to make it look more effective and focused in your final product. So this piece of footage I have here was from a private lesson Zoom class I did with one of my adult students. It was, the song we did was Confide in Me by Kylie Minogue. And this is the Zoom footage that we're looking at here. So I blurred out her face for privacy reasons, and what I'm going to do is show you how to crop this particular image or this particular piece of footage so that you only see me, and so that you cut. So we just want this part here, but I also want to cut out some of this white at the side. I want to cut out the top, and I want to cut out this fan here so that we mostly just get the dance space, me as the dancer, and the target background. If you can do this when you're filming, so if you can actually zoom in your camera to the point where the frame is only capturing what you want, then that's ideal, obviously, but you can do it in post-production if you need to. So what I'm going to do is right click on my piece of footage in the timeline, and I'm going into crop and zoom. Obviously each particular different software will have different names for this, but most of the time it's crop and zoom. Now, if we have a look down here at the ratio, I'm doing the ratio of 16:9, which is a standard widescreen, and it kind of works for most formats. Not going to work for Instagram, but for everything else, this is going to be the best option. Now, if you have a look over here, this gives you what the dimensions are for that ratio. So 1280 by 720. Wherever possible, you want to keep it at excuse me, you want to keep it at that ratio the whole way through. What that means is if we drag the corner in, then the ratio of 16 to 9, where this is 16, this is 9, will stay the whole way through. So, boom, boom. So it's just a smaller scaled down version of that original square. So that's changed to 638 times 359. I'm going to reset it and I'll show you. If I do 638 and just type that directly in here, it will automatically make this ratio or this number 359 because it's based on ratio, not based on anything else really. Okay, so now I just move that box and it's showing you here, this is what it's highlighted. But we want to go in a bit further. Now this is where things become a little bit tricky. So what I want to do is cut from the edges a fair bit from each side, but I don't want to cut a lot from the top. So this is where I'm going to need to go into a custom view, because if I just make this cut out the fan, and I want it to cut out a bit of this side, so I want it to go to about there. If I just do that from the side, you can see that it's actually cut out quite a bit of my of me as the dancer. So my feet are now not visible. When we press play, that's what you're seeing. Okay, so it's zoomed it in, but it's kept this ratio of 16 to 9. If I want to correct that and actually have my feet involved in it, I need to drag this down, but I'm going to need, that's going to change the ratio. So I'm going to need to go in here and change it to a custom ratio. I drag this down and you can see now it hasn't actually changed the width. The width this way has stayed the same. But look what happens when I click play and we now see this square here is that's highlighted within these blue lines. That's all that's going to be visible. When I play that, you can see now, whoops, you can see now that I've actually got these black bars on the side. And they're not ideal, but they're not a deal breaker. So we're going to go through how to change that. Something you really, really don't want to do is just drag to fill the width. Okay, so we've got these black squares, banners at the side. I don't want them, so I go, oh, I'm just going to drag it. Okay. But you can see that's distorted the image and I now look much more chunky. The same would happen if you pulled it upwards. You just look tall and lanky. You just look weird. You're distorting the image. So try not to pull things that way because you're going to distort the image. Try to work within your ratio that you have. So undo, because I don't really enjoy seeing myself like that. So we've cropped our image, but we're now not in the 16 by 9 or 16 to 9 ratio. And we have these black bars at the side. There are lots of different ways you can change that. One is to just leave it. Sometimes it doesn't bother people. It bothers me, so I am going to change it. And this is where you're going to start to use filters, backgrounds, and things like that. So I'm going into, in my software, in Filmora, it's called Effects. And in Effects, we have filters, overlays, utility, and LUT. LUT is the lighting stage. Basically, you can change that. But if you have a look over here, we have backgrounds. And this is where the way they've set it up in these examples, it's basically if you film in portrait view where your camera is up and down like this, so like your Instagram view, a lot of people see it as, then you get a lot of these side things, and it's not giving me a very good example at all. But what I can do is, because this is Kylie Minogue's Confide in Me and it was a very trippy kind of film clip, I might decide to use one of these really cool backgrounds. And what it does is you can see in these examples that it's distorting elements of that footage that's there. So I'm going to use this diamonds one, drag it to my timeline, and it's now put this in here and filled those black spaces. Okay, so I might use that and use it for the whole thing. Okay, if I don't like that, I just delete it. You can play around with all the different types. A really effective one that can actually work for the entire video is to put a frame on it. Now, I'll show you some of the basic frames that this particular software has. One that I use a lot in my videos is the stud. Oh, where did it go? It's my favorite. I use the studs a lot here. So it's literally just a frame around the whole thing. Drag it over, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But it has, because of the size of that frame, it has taken off my head and my feet. So then I'm going to, again, working within my ratio, I am going to modify that. Boom, boom. Oops. Okay. And you can see it gives the whole thing a frame. You can find green screen frames on YouTube that will do the same thing. If your particular editing software does not have these sorts of built-in frames like Filmora does, you can find some. Now, I will find one for you that I downloaded ages ago. I found it on YouTube and I converted it, and now I'm importing it in, and I'm going to drag that down onto my timeline where I want it to be. Okay, now you can see this one is a blue screen. So I'm going to right click on that particular element, click green screen, and because it's looking for green, it hasn't eliminated anything. So what I'm going to do is select the dropper, sorry. Tell it what color I want it to eliminate. And now we have this cool little thing here. I'm going to resize my footage underneath so that it fills the frame. Use the corners. We're not using the top and the sides because we don't want to distort the image at all. Try to make it as centered as possible. And now you've taken a problem, which was those black banners on the sides, and we've actually made it look even cooler. So hopefully that's helped you out a little bit when editing your own videos. To my colleagues and friends at That Dance Place, if you want me to do this for you, I am more than happy to do it. Just contact me or come and see me at the studio. To everybody else, if you need any extra help with this or have some questions, just pop them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can and give you a hand with it. But please remember, I don't know how to use every different video editing piece of software, okay? I've only ever really used Filmora, but I will help in whatever way I can. If you have any other requests for this type of thing, so if there's editing that you would like to learn how to do, pop it in the comments as well, or send me a message. I'll see what I can do if I know about that particular type of editing. But as you can see from the background with the level over there and all the equipment, I have a lot of studio work I've got to do. I'm making things for my videos and all that, so I gotta go. Very busy, busy, busy. Like I said before though, give me a thumbs up and click the subscribe. It definitely helps me out. Have fun making your own dance videos, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.